So
Yeah.
at West Point, did you have a favorite subject?
Hmm. So, yeah, I ended up starting out to be a systems engineer. And for those that don't know, the West Point does, you still choose a major now. Back in the 80s and 90s, I guess you didn't, but they did switch that. It is a little more modern now. But you take a lot of core classes, like a lot of an extra history, extra math and physics and chemistry. And I'm really grateful. I got exposed to a lot more than I would have. Because I always wanted to in high school. I think the desire to be really good at running made me kind of obsessed with like being great at one thing. And I do
Hmm.
believe the way that more I've introspected and just seen over time, I think God has made me to be pretty good at a lot of things. And
Hmm.
that's honestly like the definition of an officer should be able to do the job that his enlisted soldiers is doing, but also be able to do other things. So I think he's gifted me in that way, and that's why I'm now more of a primary care doctor, which is interesting because our field, most people do specialize. They get really into men's health or endocrinology or some specialty, and actually most doctors really aim for really specialized treatments. He's wired me to be a little different, so I do believe. And so at West Point, the ones that really I remember that really shaped me was performance psychology. So I did get a minor in both systems engineering and psychology, while also focusing on kinesiology, which was exercise performance and physiology. But honestly, those classes were my hardest ones. I got my worst grades, which makes hopefully don't tell me my patients that I didn't learn anatomy that time around. But it
Hmm.
we didn't. One big thing was at West Point because it's only undergraduate. A lot of the big exercise performance psychology, performance kinesiology programs are University of Texas, Penn State. These big schools that have PhD, masters, research going on. So
Right.
we tried to fit. It was somewhat of a square peg into a round hole with kinesiology because we were asked to do all this research, and we would have to like bribe our fellow undergrads that weren't getting paid anything, or there's no budget to do like treadmill tests and finger
Hmm.
prick lactate threshold, different stuff. So, which is really cool stuff, but when you're already taking 25 credits, very few other cadets wanted to participate. So, there was one class called the Psychology of Elite Performance that I had a psychologist that was incredible. They taught me a lot about for myself. At the time, it was mostly for my own racing and mindset, but I
Hmm.
think it carried over in the way that I attempt to treat patients with we call it motivational interviewing, but I do think that's part of almost every interaction I have now with people and with patients. So.